to ask yourself these very simple but powerful questions. How come there is experience? Or as Ellen's 5-year-old nephew said to his mother when he was 5 years old, how do I know that I exist? Think about it. How do we know? We all know that we exist, but how do we know? Through what channel do we know that we exist? How do I know that I am? It's such a simple, fundamental question. But if you ask that question and you get interested in it, how do I know that I am? That is wonder. Or how come there is experience? Or even, how come there is something rather than nothing? They're very simple questions, but they're so powerful. You take any of those questions and you follow it, it'll take you right to the heart of experience. Who or what am I? Is another. Or what is an object? What is a thing? What is a thing, really? Any of these, they're so simple, they're too simple for most people to ask. But these are the questions that the great scientists and the great artists and the great philosophers ask. They don't ask complex questions, they ask the most simple questions. What is reality? There is something that is undeniably real about this experience. What is the reality? What is real in every experience? These questions, they're so simple, but they are the questions. They are like portals they are pathways to the heart of experience. I mean, think of the we're 140 people or so. Think of the number of hours that we have all collectively spent in our lives as students, and think of the number of hours we have all collectively spent studying knowledge and experience. How many of us in our early years at school or university were ever asked the question by our teachers or professors, but what is it that knows knowledge? What is it that knows all this knowledge that we are studying, all this experience and knowledge? What is it that knows that? Did anyone here have a professor or a teacher who asked them that question? I've asked this question now to thousands of people. Nobody has ever said yes. Isn't that incredible? Think of the hours that we have all spent studying knowledge. Wouldn't it be a simple question? Wouldn't it be the most fundamental of all questions? But what is it that knows this knowledge? What is it that renders knowledge or experience knowable? And until we know the nature of that which knows our knowledge and experience, what can we be sure about? What knowledge or experience can we be certain about? What knowledge and experience is reliable without first knowing the nature of that with which it is known? Can any of the mind's knowledge be reliable unless we know the nature of the mind with which it is known? Obviously not. Wouldn't this be the first question that we should be asked, at least from the age of 16 upwards, or at university? Shouldn't this be the first question on the curriculum of all university courses? What is it that knows this vast body of knowledge that you're about to embark on? But that question is never asked. It's such a simple question, and the question has such profound ramifications, implications for what we subsequently know. And if you consider the incredible nature of experience, what does that say for that out of which experience comes? If experience is incredible, what about that from which experience arises? What is that? It's not beyond who you think you are most of the time. It is prior to. It is not beyond who you think you are. It is, you go back the other way. It's prior to everything you think and feel about yourself. It's on this side of what you think and feel about yourself, not on that side of it. You don't have to go over there beyond what you know and think and feel about yourself. You have to come back closer to yourself and find that which is prior to your thoughts and feelings about yourself. What is prior to your thoughts and feelings about yourself is just yourself. I am that I am, and that's all that I am, as Popeye said.
So when attention turns towards anything, it seems to, when it's deep enough, it seems to disappear.
When attention turns towards any object. Deep. You're right. If you go deeply enough into the object will disappear. And in fact, that's the way of science. The way of the mystic is to turn away from the objects of experience.
I'm a scientist.
Perfect. That doesn't surprise me. Well, okay, yes, perfect. You're absolutely right then. It is a legitimate way to go via objects, but what most scientists don't do is that they don't, just like lots of mystics don't go all the way back to the, well, when I say lots of mystics, I mean lots of people who are exploring their true nature don't go all the way back to their true nature. They start exploring, but they get stuck somewhere with a layer of intimate feelings. They don't go all the way back to their true self. The scientist as well, as you absolutely rightly say, it's a valid path, exploring the object. But if we stop short of going all the way, then we won't arrive at the conclusion that you're arriving at, which is if you go far enough into the object's not there. I mean, contemporary physics is close to this now.
Yes.
It's very close to it. It's if you only go, let's say, you get half the way in exploring the object. Okay, we know it's not. We know it's just not made of wood. We start exploring the wood a little bit closer. We come to atoms and molecules, but atoms and molecules is only halfway. In fact, it's only a quarter of the way, and we go further. And we go further, and we go on, and we go on and on and on. The actual objectness of the object disappears. And you come to its reality. You come to consciousness.
Okay.
So, but yes, it's a valid way.
Verifying that in a way.
Yes, absolutely. It's a valid way. You can go in either direction. The mystic goes inwards, directly towards consciousness. The artist and the scientist goes outwards towards objects or nature. But if either goes all the way, they end up at the same place. So they set out in what appears to be opposite directions, but they're traversing a circle in opposite directions.
So when you talk about experience and perception, do you use experience and perception as interchangeable?
Yes, but there is more to experience than perception. But all perception is experience, but not all experience is perception. For instance, thinking. So
can you have an experience without perception?
Yes, thinking.
Okay, so the experience of
no
object.
Experience means, in the way I use the word experience, means thinking, sensing and perceiving, not just perceiving, but let's just call it thinking and perceiving. But we could say that, let's use the word experiencing instead of knowing, rather than saying that knowing is all there is to experience. Let's say experiencing is all there is to experience, that all experiences are made out of experiencing, and therefore experiencing itself cannot be limited to any particular experience. And therefore, pure experiencing has no objective features to it, and is therefore pure consciousness.
And timeless.
And timeless, dimensionless, yes, without any form. So by pure experiencing. Pure experiencing is consciousness. It is the, if we consider experiencing to be the essence of every experience, then that experience is free of the particular limitation or the limitations of any particular experience. Therefore it is pure. It is without any of the finite limitations of any particular experience. So it is pure experiencing is consciousness.
That is beautiful. Yeah.
But it's a beautiful investigation that you're exploring. The exploring of the object itself.
I think
You could take anything with an objective quality and go deeply into it. In any object, what is it that exists? What is it that is shining as the object, saying, I exist? What is really existing there? What is the existence? All objects have one thing in common. Whether they are subtle objects called thoughts and perceptions, or so-called gross objects called chairs and tables. Mm-hmm. All objects have one thing in common, and that is existence. Existence is the one thing that all objects share, and therefore it cannot belong to or share the properties of any particular object. What is pure existence? What is it that shines in the object as it is? It's the same thing that shines in ourself as I am. The amness of ourself and the isness of the thing are the same.
Yeah, I see that.
So you can either go towards the amness of yourself, but that's the way we've been going the first couple of days of the retreat. We went towards the amness. But you're a scientist, you can go towards the amness of yourself, but you can also go towards the isness of the thing, and then compare the amness of yourself and the isness of the thing. They are both without features, they are both without qualities, they are both without any finite characteristics. How many infinite objectless presences can there be? So yes, you can go in both directions.
A few minutes ago when she said, when you're aware of being aware, there's no experience. And so when I thought I was aware of being aware, I still had sensations and thoughts.
No, it's okay. You can be aware of being aware in the presence of objects or in the absence of objects. So what Monica was referring to, the awareness is awareness of itself in the absence of objects, in which there is no experience. But it's also possible to be aware of the experience of being aware in the presence of objects. For instance, if I were to ask you now, are you aware? What would you say?
Yes.
You say yes because you are aware of being aware, and yet the experience of being aware takes place in the presence of objects.
Okay.
So it's what is necessary is just to clearly see the screen, to clearly see the experience of being aware.
Okay.
Because the experience of being aware is not conditioned by objective experience, even during objective experience, you can see clearly the nature of simply being aware.
In theory.
In practice.
There. Well,
in
no,
practice.
I realize for some, but not yet for me. But
are you now aware? Is it your experience? I am aware.
Yes.
Tell us about the experience of being aware.
The experience of being aware of
No,
our
not
conversation?
Don't tell us about our conversation. Tell us about the experience of being aware. I asked you, do you have the experience of being aware? And you said yes. Now, tell us about the experience to which you refer when you said yes. Don't tell us about the conversation. Tell us about the experience of being aware.
I just know that I am. I can't describe it.
Why can't you describe it?
Because
You say, I just know that I am. I, consciousness, know that I am. So right there is consciousness's knowledge of itself. But you, the mind, cannot describe consciousness's knowledge of itself. You're quite right, but why not?
Because any description is of an object, of an experience.
And just complete the rest of the sentence. I want you to say it.
And those are the things I am aware of.
Exactly.
Okay.
So any description, any label, any concept could only ever refer to what you are aware of, because what you are aware of has finite qualities that you can describe.
Correct.
Is that your experience?
Yes.
But the experience of being aware doesn't have finite qualities, and therefore you can't describe it.
Correct.
Is that your experience?
Yes.
Now, how would you say more succinctly awareness doesn't have finite qualities? What would the word be to describe the fact that awareness doesn't have finite qualities? Or that it is not finite? What's the single word?
Infinite.
Infinite is the word.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so you've just said that consciousness is infinite. Now, is that your experience or is it theory?
It's still theory. Or
No, it's not. You said,
okay, I was just kidding.
I have the experience of being aware. I cannot describe the experience of being aware because it has no qualities. Having no qualities, it is not finite, which is tantamount to saying it is infinite. That came from your experience of being aware. Why do you insist that it's theory?
Probably because I have an expectation that with that...
Exactly.
Okay.
But with that, sorry, I'm now interrupting, that with the recognition that consciousness is infinite or not finite and eternal, or that it doesn't last in time, there will be some marvelous experience that will accompany it. And I haven't yet had this marvelous experience, and therefore little me couldn't possibly know that consciousness is infinite and eternal. But little you doesn't know that consciousness is infinite, eternal. It is you, consciousness, that knows that itself has no finite qualities and is ever present now. It is not an extraordinary experience. It is, in fact, the most obvious, intimate, simple experience that everybody has, but most people overlook it because they're looking for this marvelous experience that we read about in the books. That's got nothing to do with enlightenment. These marvelous experiences are the after effects, the relaxation that we were talking earlier about, the impact of this recognition on the body or the mind, this tremendous relaxation or relief when we discover that what we are doesn't die and is not limited. There is such a relaxation, and that relaxation often triggers an extraordinary physical or mental experience. But that extraordinary physical or mental experience has nothing to do with enlightenment. It is a possible side effect that that take place in some body minds, but not others. Close your eyes. Imagine that you are a newborn infant. You have no past to refer to. You've never seen an image of your body, and you have no conceptual knowledge of your body. All you're experiencing is a mass of sensation. Yes? Tell us about that sensation. Or let me ask you some questions about it. I'm asking you, the newborn infant, which just means you without any thoughts or memories attached to it. Keep your eye closed. This sensation, does it have an age?
It's now.
Does it have a gender?
No.
Does it have a nationality?
No.
Does it have a shape? In order to answer that question, you have to find its edge.
No. I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Does it have a size? How large is the current sensation?
That's where I get hung up. Because it,
Don't go into theory, just refer to your current experience. How large, without reference to memory, thought, images, how large is the current sensation?
it's just here.
Could you say it's big or small? Or?
Not if I don't know what those terms mean. No, not as a newborn. In theory.
No,
Sorry.
not in theory. We're referring to your current experience. How much does the current sensation weigh?
I don't know.
Do you have any experience of weight?
No.
Is that theory or is that your experience?
Truthfully, it's still theory, but I get why it's true.
No. Go to your experience. In your experience, does the current sensation have a weight? Do you have an experience of something called weight? Or do you just feel a certain intensity of sensation?
That's a better way to put it, yes. Just a certain depth of
A certain
sensation.
intensity?
Yes.
Well, a headache has a certain intensity to it. Would you agree?
Yes.
Does a headache weigh anything?
No.
Now go back to your current sensation. Does it weigh anything?
No.
Is that theory or your experience?
It's my experience.
If you were to draw the current sensation on a piece of paper, what would your drawing look like?
I have no idea.
Perfect. Remember, okay, you can open your eyes now. What you have just described is your current experience of your body, without reference to thought. You have said it is ageless, it is genderless, it has no nationality, it has no weight, it has no shape, it has no size, it has no location. That's your experience.
Without labels, yes. When I can get out of my mind enough
But
to...
the labels that you just
abstract.
described your experience.
Correct.
Now, if you start adding labels, the labels you add to your body, presumably those labels should describe your experience of your body. So now start describing your experience of your body from your experience. What labels would you attach to it? If you're going to add, a label is something that designates what that thing is. Yeah? So now try to find a label, a concept, an idea that describes the experience of your body. We've just been through the experience, so now refer, with your eyes open, refer back to that experience and begin to label it. What can you say about your body from your experience?
From that experience...
No, from this experience, which is this, if you think about it, it's the same as that experience. Your body hasn't changed. Yes? So close your eyes again. Just go through the questions quickly in your mind. Just bring yourself again to that experience. My body is this amorphous, tingling, shapeless, weightless, genderless, ageless, unlocated vibration. And then add labels now that describe your experience of your body.
I don't think I can.
Perfect.
Okay.
Did your answer come from theory or from experience?
No, it's experience. Yes. Thank you. I'm get a hot seat.
When you say, we go through an experiment like this, and then at the end you just dismiss it all and say, oh, but that's just theory. What you really mean is this. You mean, it's my experience, but my mind just cannot believe it. No, but don't worry, because you're doing this for everyone. So don't worry. But what we really mean when go back to the previous conversation when you said it was just theory that consciousness is infinite and eternal. And then we discovered that actually it's not theory, it is you, consciousness, it is your experience that you are without any finite limits and that you don't last in time. But when the mind rises again and says, well, that's just theory, what it really means is, I just don't believe it. It conflicts so profoundly with my conditioning. It conflicts so profoundly with what I think and feel that I know myself to be. That's what we mean. It's our experience. You've just described, first of all, you described your experience of consciousness. Secondly, you described your experience of your body. But then your mind comes back in and just says, I don't believe my experience. I believe my old concepts that I've been conditioned to believe. Trust your experience.
Thank you.
Okay, you can come off the hot seat now. It really depends on what sort of mind you have. I was once driving to the airport with Francis after a retreat in Ottawa, and my friend and I were sitting in the back of the car, and my friend asked Francis, why does the teaching have to be so complicated? And he replied, to satisfy people with minds as complex as Rupert's. So I'm one of those people that ask questions about everything, that wants to know about what time is and what space is. And so I have a kind of elaborate internal mental activity. But not everyone is like that. Not everyone is very interested in the nature of time or the nature of space. Or it's not essential. It's not an essential part of the non-dual teaching. That's the part of the teaching just for those of us that want to explore that aspect of experience. What is most important for all of us, whether we are interested in these more these matters or not, is to have access to the deep peace that you describe. That's the most important thing for all of us, irrespective of the type of mind we might have. So that's very good that you have access to that place. So you just need now to have pathways that you can take that take you back there, and to rest regularly there. And then as your mind rises again, it comes back saturated with the peace of your true nature. That's really all that's important. The answer to the question, who am I, is this deep peace that you refer to. So although the question, who am I, is a question that is formulated by the intellect, the question is not answered by the intellect. The question is answered by the experience which you described very well.
Okay.
So yes, so the mind asks the question, who am I? The mind travels back through layers of its own experience, but it is consciousness that has the recognition, I am pure consciousness. And the experience of deep peace that you described is that experience, I am pure consciousness.
Okay.
So that experience is the experiential answer to the question, who am I? It's when you're not in deep peace, in other words, when you're suffering, then you have to ask the question. And that's when you need, when you're suffering, that's when you need these pathways, whether the pathway is initiated by the question, who am I? Or am I aware? Or what is the essential element of myself? Or what is the continuous element in all experience? Any of these questions initiate the process of self-inquiry, whose resolution is the peace that you describe.